Johnny
and Jody.
and Jody, yes.
Okay.
Those are the only two.
This is Travis. I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay. 7.
And I may be cutting it out. I'm up in Shasta County for work, so I may not have cell service.
Well, we have a quorum and it's 5:32, so we will call this meeting to order so we can move right along. Good afternoon, everybody. Would you please stand for the pledge to the flag? It's going to be led tonight by Shiloh Crawford.
Yes.
So take it away, Shiloh.
Ooh, how do I play it? Oh, there we go. Just kidding.
Of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, nation.
Okay.
Okay, very good. We could see his lips and we know what the words were, so very good. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting. It's getting a little bit easier with Zoom. I wish we were back in that large conference room around the table where we could talk closer with each other and communicate better. But we're moving along and hopefully everything will go along good. Bear with me, sometimes it's hard to watch all your hands go up. So if I don't call on you, bear with me because I can't see everybody on the screen. Can we have the roll call, Director Alvarado?
Chair Bali?
Speaking, here.
Vice Chair Caldonado's not here. Commissioner Alcorn?
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Here.
Commissioner Diaz is not here, but she did call and let us know that she would probably not be able to make it. Commissioner Goodman?
Present.
Commissioner Martinez?
Here.
Commissioner Lamort?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez? Nope. And Commissioner Crawford?
Here.
You missed me, Cynthia.
Oh, I did. Because I wrote you, oh, my apologies. Commissioner. All right.
Okay, thank you. Can we have the report on the posting of the agenda?
So the agenda was posted on the city website, the Leisure Center, and City Hall as required by established policies and procedures on Wednesday, October 21st.
Thank you very much. At this time, can we have approval of the minutes? Director Crawford sent them out to everybody, and we have had time to look them over. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, changes, or deletions? So, if you notice at the top, the roll call, absence, presence, present to date. That has been corrected, adjusted like it used to be. It is supposed to reflect our year-to-date presence absence, which brings me to, I see one that I believe, Dieter, you're here, Commissioner Crawford. You've only missed one meeting, haven't you? I show him only attending one, and on my records, I show him attending 2. So can you check that to make sure? I think he's attended 2 in this calendar year.
So we are doing this based off of fiscal year, not calendar year. So that's probably the difference. Based off Anthony's suggestion from the city clerk's office.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll go with that. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to accept.
Thank you, Commissioner. Second? Commissioner Cohen seconds, and all in favor, raise your right hand.
Or say aye.
Say aye. Can you count
Aye.
ayes? Okay. All right, very good. The minutes are approved as published. Do we have any correspondence?
None this evening.
None this evening. Do we have any public input?
None this evening.
Then I will dispense with reading the information on public input. And we will go to city manager comments. I see our city manager is present. Welcome, Dr. Reddy. Do you have anything for us?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I hadn't been able to join you for a while, so I thought I would just listen in. I'm certainly here to answer any questions you may have. But one thing I did want to note, and I know that Cynthia is going to get into more of the detail on the project updates, but want to make sure we're going as rapidly and aggressively as we can on the restroom issue. And moving forward there. But anyway, Mr. Chairman, I can answer any questions, or I'm just going to listen in for a little while if you don't mind. Thanks.
Okay. Does anyone have any direct questions for him that might be coming up in the next discussions that would not be coming up in the discussion? If not, we can move on to staff updates. Shall we go with Parks and Recreations, Cynthia, or shall we go with Stacy Schaefer's?
You can start with Stacy.
All right, Director Schaefer, you're on.
Thank you. So I guess the big ones that we have right now are we are redoing the red ant treatment. We had performed that obviously in October. We have to wait 16 weeks in between. So we're going to be doing that again. Ruth Hardy will be at the end of December, and then the remaining parks will happen again in February. We seem to have quite the increase this year. So Vector Control is assisting us with that. And I'm sure everyone's aware we're well on our way in the middle of our scalping season. Everything so far is going pretty well. We've had a few issues with some fields being played on, which of course is hard on the new growth. So we're trying to address those in a case-by-case basis. The new roof was placed on the gazebo in the Desert Highland Park. That's been completed, as well as electrical repairs up there. We're still working on the rodent issue, the ground squirrels there in Desert Highland, as well as Demuth. But as the governor handed down some limitations on our rodent side options that our landscapers use, we're having a little bit of a struggle trying to find an effective way to deal with that issue. And that's the big ones for us right now.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Director Schaefer on the parks? We got an easy group here tonight. Director Alvarado, it is up. Turn to you.
All right, so the pool is open and every lane is available. So we have the capacity to host 20 swimmers at a time. Everything is still through reservation only, 45-minute session blocks. And we are hosting about 100 people a day, not including the swim teams. If you include the swim teams, we're about to 140 attendees. So the pool is very busy. Let's see. A couple weeks ago, we hosted a splash event at James O. Jesse, and it was by reservation only. And it was just some time for the community to come out and just do some play at the park with their families. And that was a really good time to just connect with them and collect data from them. James O. Jesse will be doing what they are calling First Fridays. And so every month on the first Friday of the month, they will do some form of reach out to the community and some form of fun recreation events so that we can stay connected and just, stay active in our community. This past weekend, we hosted our pool pumpkin patch, which was amazing. I will share some pictures with you really quick so that you can see. All right, can you see it? So there's a few shots of some of the kids that attended. It was a really neat idea for us. This was the first time that we did it. And we definitely are looking forward to continuing this event in the following years and really just expanding the activities that we do there. We're thinking maybe some, tossing the pumpkin as far as you can and kicking across the pool as a race competition. But there's a lot of fun activities that we can plan within the pool for the next year, but it was a really neat event. Definitely had a lot of families enjoy that. Let's see. We will be hosting 2 Halloween events this week. On Thursday, our event will be at the Leisure Center from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It is by reservation only. We've been getting a lot of calls since last week. And then on Friday, October 30th, we'll have the drive-through event at the James O. Jesse Center from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And they will be lining up like they do for food distribution on Thursdays. Let's see. For the dog park Lwcf grant, State Park has recommended our project to National Park Service, and we're currently being reviewed for our Section 106, which is the cultural and historics study. After that, we are waiting for any award letter for that grant, but it's still a ways away, so we don't have any final information to share with you there. We are partnering with several different organizations in the Coachella Valley. They're doing a program called Palms to Pines, and we are going to be contributing our bocce ball court to special needs programming, and we will be providing the bocce balls themselves. We have the instructor in backgrounds now, so we're looking forward to the partnerships and really providing some more programming to our community who has different abilities than others. We will be hosting a Dia de los Muertos project at Victoria Park. The altar will be starting to be built on October 30th. And on Sunday, November 1st, the altar will be there for people to bring pictures of loved ones so that they can partake in the traditional Hispanic holiday. This is a partnership between us and the Arts Commission. I brought it to the subcommittee, and because of the amount of time in order to get this moving and make sure that it happened, we were not able to bring it tonight. Otherwise, they wouldn't have enough time to plan for it and whatnot. But it's being led by Council Member Grace Garner and her mom. They are the co-chairs for this particular setup at the park. As soon as I get final renderings of what this is going to look like, I will send it out to you so that you can see, but it will only be up for a day or two, and then it'll be brought back down. So it's not any kind of permanent display. It's just an altar to, pay tribute to family members who have passed. And I will get you the event timeline for that if you're interested in going. Those are my updates.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments for either of our facilities director or Director Alvarado on the updates? Commissioner Cohen.
Was there an update? I think I had read something about the city starting its share of the CV Link part of its construction. Is that under Parks and Rec?
Are you asking?
I don't know whether Cynthia or Dr. Reddy.
Dr. Reddy.
The CV Link is a project from CVAG. It's funded through CVAG. Obviously, they've been working very closely with us. Now, I presume you've been aware of this process along the way, and it's going to become even, sort of more activity happening. You probably need to be more involved, I would think. I think, Marcus, you're on the Zoom here. Marcus, if you are, could you explain a little bit, just briefly, this next segment? Yeah. And then how the Parks Commission may need to interact with this, just to be kept in the loop?
Sure. Last week was a big event for CVAG. They awarded a $52 million contract for about 15 miles of CV Link. Portions of that are in Palm Springs, including the trailhead at the Visitors Center and a segment along the levee going from Indian to the extension of Sunrise, and a big segment along Tockwitz Creek going from South Palm Canyon east all the way along segments going along North Riverside Drive and then on Mesquite and then over through the golf course over to Lawrence Crosley Road. There was a staff report I prepared a few months ago, if you can find it, where we had really provided details of all of the segments of CV Link that go through the city, and council at that time authorized essentially construction of CV Link, you know, through coordination with the engineering department. So it's a CVAG project. CVAG is the lead agency. They're the contracting agency. So they're entirely responsible for constructing it. And we will make sure to have public notice and give the commission and the council every update as they start to move forward with the process. I don't envision that they'll have construction starting probably till after the new year, by the time they get everything in place with this pretty big contract.
Now, that being said, the interesting thing, commissioners and Mr. Chairman, is once this is in, it is going to look and feel like a city park, a city recreation. So my suggestion is you need to be very involved. You ought to look at it as a park asset. Although we won't directly control it, we will have a lot of influence on maintenance and activities and things that occur there. So I think you need to think about putting it in your stable and utilize it to however extent you want.
Okay. That may be a subject of a subcommittee in the near future. Think about that, commissioners. Any other comments for Commissioner Cohen?
I'm sorry to have all the comments today. And this is purely a question about our scope, and it's probably a little premature, but to Dr. Reddy and to Mr. Fuller, the question is around, I know the council is barely at the beginning of the process to look into potentially considering, did I do enough caveats there? Selling the Tockwitz golf course for use potentially as another use, and maybe into what is being called the Mesquite Desert Preserve, which I take it, I understand would be owned independent of the city, but there's a process in there. And is that something that Parks and Recreation Commission, as part of our scope, ought to be involved in the process of looking at that question? Or is that out of our scope and purely in the city council?
Well, just as a general matter, no, it would be completely within your scope. So in a summary fashion, the city invested a significant amount in the golf course and subsidizes it for all kinds of reasons. Those reasons may be changing. Long-term, it may or may not be a good decision for the city to be in the golf course business, or it might. And that is the threshold question that ultimately you're going to have to help council decide, and you will be making a recommendation. So right now there's discussion from this organization that they have an interest. We've split the cost of a appraisal. But once it now gets beyond this, the threshold question of whether we should keep it or not is a recreation and parks question that will come squarely into your discussion, looking for recommendation to council. So that I would say that's probably within the next, Marcus, what would you say, 6 to 8 months, if that, or maybe before? And it may not even be real, but it's possible.
Right. Yeah, I don't know the status of the appraisal, but it'll take some time.
But city council would be very, very much interested in your opinions on this. But it's not ripe yet, but when it's ripe, we need to make sure that it does get into your form, and you're probably going to want to have maybe a series of discussions on it, would be my guess.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for answering that. Commissioner Cohen, do you have anything more to add or
No,
ask?
thank you. Those are just asking about a question of what might be coming down the pike for us.
All right. Are there any other questions that go up to the staff update? Commissioner Crawford, I see your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Director Alvarado how many people attended the floating pumpkin patch.
Overall, we probably had about 100 people.
Okay. No other questions on that section? If not, we'll then move into our discussion on our project updates, and we have a verbal report under our discussion item on our project updates. And is that between
Let's see.
Mr. Fuller or Dr. Reddy?
Marcus, Dawn gave me some pictures and some highlight points. Do you want me to deliver them or do you want to deliver?
No, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Dawn wasn't able to attend tonight, but he did give me some highlights. So we're going to address the downtown park first, and I'm going to share some pictures that he sent over. And let me go here. Okay. So, oh, does it not? Hold on. Just kidding. Have I told you all how much I dislike Zoom? Okay. All right. So these are the pictures that Dawn had given to share for tonight's meeting. And so for the downtown park, work continues on the substation and the rock formation of the water feature. The park restrooms, engineering will request authorization to bid from City Council for all restrooms for the November meeting. They will continue to discuss putting the Sunrise Park restroom out to bid first, and then based on lessons learned on how much the bid will come in from, they will redefine the details for the other parks and put those out to bid while the Sunrise Park restroom is under construction. The gym floor replacement at the James O. Jesse site, the assessment has been done and they're working on the technical specifications. Playground equipment resurfacing, staff has reviewed each location and is working on putting together a bid package. Shade structures, 2 at the pickleball courts, 2 at the tennis courts, 5 at the softball courts. That assessment has been done and they're working on costs for the bid package. The acoustic curtains for the pavilion, they've been reviewing the window conditions. They are still doing an evaluation of the existing condition. This project may be more complicated than originally anticipated, but they're considering blackout curtains. For the ball field lighting, conversion to LED lights, they're working on a request for proposal for a consultant to draw up the plans and write up the technical specifications. And that is what I have today.
My question that we'll go back to, and I know the James O. Jesse is not on that list because now it's been moved over to Quimby funds, but do we have to wait, Dr. Reddy and Mr. Marcus, Mr. Fuller, do we have to wait until forever, or can that get moved for, I mean, the bathrooms are needed up there. You know that real bad. And they're telling me maybe June, July before we can get around to starting, or what is your all's thought?
Marcus, please.
Yeah, I asked Joel to have an item on the next agenda to pre-authorize and approve bidding of all 3 restrooms. The one that's furthest along is the Sunrise Park one, because that one was CDBG funds from a year before last. And then most recently, this last year, council funded the Demuth with this year's CDBG funds, and now Quimby funds for James Jesse. The James O. Jesse one is a little bit complicated. We got to figure out how to tie it into the utilities next to the gym, but that's, you know, just a formality. So the Sunrise and Demuth ones are essentially demo what's there and build a whole new one and connect to the existing utilities. It's just some of the details have to be resolved. So our idea is to get out to bid first with Sunrise, and then get out to bid as soon as we can with Demuth and potentially James O. Jesse at the same time. But I've been pushing staff. I want to get these restrooms completed as soon as we can.
So Marcus, just in summary, if it's on approval for the meeting on November 12th, about what kind of time frame to begin construction at JOJ?
We'll have bids probably in January. So some, award in January, February. So construction could start, March, April.
So I think if what you can help us is, as commissioners, please feel free to pressure staff, including city managers, assistant city managers, and directors about, hey, just want to make sure we're still on track here, because that way everyone's comfortable, things aren't slipping. And so as I may not be here as we move through, the months of the new year, it's going to be important that the new city manager is very much tuned in to this project and the time frame. And you will have a great responsibility in making sure that occurs.
I do want to highlight that we do have a walkthrough with engineering staff tomorrow to just look at what the how we're going to place the restrooms. So we are moving on our end so that we can better prepare for bid specs once we're ready to go.
Very good. It's one of those things where the money's there, it's been approved. We want to make sure it continues on so it doesn't go away. Don't think we're not interested. Are there any other questions on the facilities updates that commissioners have for the city staff? That was consistent of a verbal report. So number 1 is finished and we will move on. If I don't hear anything from anyone else there. Discussion on our COVID-19 update, verbal report from our director.
So as you all know, we have gone back to the purple tier. What that means for our department is not too many things really. Since we've decided to adapt the outside mobile rec model, none of our programs were indoors, so we are okay with continuing to run those programs outdoors. So you'll still, with the exception of reseating being a topic, see a lot of our exercise classes still outside, and obviously things that we are programming here internally, we are going to be doing outside to make sure that we can continue to provide some sort of programs to our community and our city. There's still no update for adult sports and leagues. And I know that's frustrating for some of our community, but that's where we're at with that.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Director Alvarado on our COVID-19 updates of our programs? Our next section on here is a discussion on placing portable restrooms that was brought up by Commissioner Lamort last time at the James O. Jesse in the interim time. And I believe Director Alvarado has some cost figures for us, and maybe we can get some discussion about the different ones between the James O. Jesse and the City Dog Park.
Yeah, so I had staff reach out to Vertec to find out how much it would cost to place a portable restroom and a wash station at both the City Hall Dog Park and James O. Jesse. And the cost per week is $236.12 per site. And that includes the restroom, the portable restroom, the wash station, and a once-a-week cleaning. Now, if we wanted to look more into more cleanings, for 2 cleanings a week, depending on the activity at each site, it would be $333.34 per week. Originally, we had, Stacy had, thought maybe the Village Fest restroom would be a possibility to bring out to James O. Jesse, but we researched the prices and it's going to end up costing us about almost $2,000 to just have that out there each month.
Wait, could you just help me? So the cost you said of 200 and some, that was for a porta potty?
A porta potty and a wash station, an ADA accessible porta potty.
Okay, and why would the Village Fest, what was the rationale that was $2,000 a month?
So that one is, the cleaning for that is $950 a month for a 1 time a week cleaning. And then also the sewer pump being emptied out.
Actually, that's a one-time a day cleaning and stocking.
My apologies.
So it's $900 a month. That's for daily cleaning.
Yes.
And the other one is how much a month?
One is $950 for the daily cleaning and $900 a month for the sewer pump to be cleaned out once a week.
Okay, I'm sorry. So for the nice one, the Village Fest, you said it's $950
For a month.
for a month. And then there was another cost?
Yes, to empty out. Stacy, do you want to jump in for this one?
David, the total cost, so it's $954 a month for daily cleaning and stocking of the supplies. And then it is $900 a month to have Vertec come out and pump out the tank itself. Plus we have to modify some electrical and water fixtures on the exterior of the
So
building.
it's $2,000 a month is what you're saying.
$2,000 a month. And again, though, that the caveat to that is the Vertec cost for cleaning out that tank is based on $900 a month for once a week pump outs. That was based on what we did for Village Fest. At this time, we don't know until obviously we see what kind of usage. It may increase depending on the amount of usage.
All right, just so I understand, it's $950 a month for cleaning and stocking, but that doesn't include the sewage.
Correct.
That's only done once a week.
The clean out is only done once a week.
Okay.
Yes.
And then on the other, the porta potties, that clean out is done when?
That's twice a week.
And that's how much a month?
That would be about $670 per location.
And
That's for once a week.
One porta potty. Is it one or two?
That would be for one location, cleaning 2 times a week.
So one location meaning just one box, one.
One porta potty wash station at one location. So if we did both, it would cost us about $1,400 for both locations.
Okay, well, other than James Jesse, what other location are you talking about?
Commission was interested in the City Hall dog park.
Okay. Now, the other question for the commission to consider, I mean, if you're going to do restrooms at James Jesse, it just seems to me they should be nicer. But let me ask you this. So I presume, would you be in agreement, like what time would they be open and what time would they be closed? Because there's a security issue too we want to make sure that we're dealing with in terms of, I presume we don't want them open 24/7. Like dawn to dusk kind of thing?
Who would be responsible for opening and closing?
Well, we would have to do that. That would have to be part of the deal. And that would be part of the cost, obviously.
It doesn't need to be open as much, I don't think, but it will go from others during the day when the facilities at the Games of Jesse are there. Maybe Commissioner Crawford can tell us, or Commissioner Lamort more on that. But after they close the facility there, there's no place, and on weekends, there's no place for people to go.
Well,
That's
when I say
correct.
they would need to be open on the weekend. It's just probably, I mean, on all of our restrooms, we at some point we shut them at night. Correct, Cynthia?
David, that's the cleaning staff come into the parks at 10 o'clock. They clean, restock, and lock them for us. That's part of the janitorial contract.
Okay, so that's how it would be done. Okay.
So my question was, are we going to do the same with the portables as well? Have them locked down at 10, have janitorial or someone go in, clean them out a little, hose them down, and then lock them up for the night. And then at 6 in the morning, they'll come back in and open them like at Ruth Hardy and those other parks.
The Parks and Recreation or Parks Maintenance staff do open those up between 5 and 6 a.m. and we could add that to the list. Yes.
I do kind of
Go ahead.
I kind of agree with Dr. Reddy that rather than just a standard porta potty, we might spend a little extra money to make it a little nicer. So my recommendation would be to use the Village Fest, spend the money.
once the Village Fest comes back online, we would lose it, correct?
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to imagine when that will occur just yet. I mean, at least it's not in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
And it's for a limited time. It's just until the James O. Jesse facility is built, which it sounds like could be July, August. So we're not talking about even for a full year. We're just talking maybe 6 months, 7 months.
Mhm. So if that's your right, if that would be your preference, what we would do is on the meeting of November the 12th, when we're talking about the budget, and there's some things I'm going to be asking council to do. If this was your recommendation, I would make that recommendation for the cost for, say, 6 months. We'd start there until the other one is completed. So it'd be basically about 12 grand. Just for James O. Jesse. And then for the dog park, well, I'll let you make whatever recommendation you want there.
Though there would be a cost for locating it to the James O. Jesse, or that, no problem. It's ours, it belongs to the city, so we can use it. If we make a,
Correct.
Commissioner Lamort, would you like to make a
I will.
proposal?
I make a motion that we do use the Village Fest portable facilities at James O. Jesse until James O. Jesse permanent facility is operational.
You would like to recommend that the council approve it for us to use that?
Yeah. In other words, spend the 2,000 instead of 236 a week. That's my motion.
Although, if you don't mind, Commissioner, I think I just think once a week pumping that is probably not going to be enough. So we probably ought to add a few $100 a month for at least twice a week, if you're okay with that.
Certainly.
All right, thank you. Stacey, we'll get a price on at least twice a week.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a second to Commissioner Lamourt's?
I second that.
All right, we have a second. Do we have any questions on the motion that's on the floor?
Who's second?
That was seconded by Jerry Alcorn. Questions on the motion on the floor? Okay, then we would go to a vote. All in favor of moving this recommendation forward to the council, raise your hand.
Aye.
And aye. Okay, that would be unanimous here. So we'll push that through. We'll send that through that Dr. Ruddy will present to them this time. Now, does someone want to discuss anything? I know at the city we have this. What time does the city dog park close, and what time does the city offices close?
I think the dog park opens up at 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., but City Hall is closed to the public right now.
Well, they can't use that at all. Okay. Do we have anyone that would like to make a recommendation of anything for the city dog park? I see no recommendation, so I guess we will go with the one. I see a light just flashed in front of me. That would have to be Commissioner Armstrong down there.
Yeah, this is perhaps, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I asked for this to be on the agenda because we're talking about all these restrooms, but you know, even if you look back at our old Parks Master Plan, the dog park is probably, you know, square foot by square foot, day in and day out, the most used public space in the city. And we have, with City Hall closing, now there's not even a limited restroom available to all the people using that space. So it's disappointing that we're not actually advocating more to do something permanent for sure, but some measure to help fit this problem we have here.
Do I have a comment, input?
I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
If we really want to throw a wrench into the discussion, I know, let's use the airport's restroom trailer.
Good idea.
Now, what does that mean? So the airport also, like the Village Fest, and you help me here, Stacy. So the airport, or the Village Fest one that we're talking about for James Jesse, the airport has one also, and they acquired that as an emergency purchase. So when they have an emergency of some sort, it's part of the part of the emergency operations center for the airport. So or there's something that occurs that they need a mobile one. So obviously that's not something they use regularly. Since this would sort of be across the street, it wouldn't be too far away in case it did need to go back. Now, the only thing I need to check on is because it was paid for with airport federal funds, we may have to formally lease it, although maybe not, maybe I can get around that. But that being said, that could be a possibility that we could bring over. Now, it's sort of a nice one, isn't it? Stacy, do you know what that consists of? Is it similar to the Village Fest one?
It's a very specialized unit. It is much nicer. We would have to actually build out some specialized power. That's a dedicated 30 amp circuit. That's why we were not able to use it during Village Fest. We could probably tie into the cogeneration facility and provide that additional power and come up with the water. The one caveat I want to point out though is right now, because of overseeding, the dog park won't reopen until close to Christmas. So we have some time to make those preparations happen.
Well, that's a plus then for that. Okay.
That would be a plus if you could look into that and
Hey,
see
so why
what
don't you guys make that recommendation and then put me to work on it, if you like the idea.
because I'm also looking at the fact, the folks, that that doesn't come open until Christmas. If things start moving to James O'Jesse, once the James O'Jesse has something built, we will have the Village Festival that we could move down to the city later on too.
Okay.
Would someone like to make a motion as to what we want to put Dr. Reddy to do in his last 2 months here with us? Commissioner Armstrong.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I'm up in Shasta County. I'm a really remote area. I'd like to make a motion that we look into Dr. Reddy's suggestion. Is that good enough?
Yep.
Yes, that would do. Do we have a second to Commissioner Armstrong's? Commissioner Lamort seconds it. All in favor, raise your hand. And I see all the hands up, and I'm assuming that Commissioner Armstrong is also. So we will put that together. Dr. Reddy will get information from the airport and get back to us on that. Wonderful having you here to come up with these ideas.
Happy to help. That's all good.
Now we have directed the staff as appropriate on that. Are there any other comments, questions, or suggestions on item 3, the discussion? That seems to all be done. Commissioner Armstrong, your light is on? No?
No, I'm fine.
All right. Our next item on the agenda was suggested last time by Commissioner Cohen on discussion on securing private donations for our Parks and Recreations Department. And I believe Commissioner Alvarado has someone to give us some updates on that.
So I spoke to our finance director, and she made some clarifying, she gave me some clarifying information. I know in the past the commission had heard that there was a city foundation that could secure dollars. The only foundations in place that are right now are the La Plaza Theater and the library. However, the city can bring in donations. They just need to be highlighted what they're wanting to donate towards. And then they would get a letter with a tax ID so that they could write off for their taxes.
This was something that Commissioner Cohen had requested some information on. Do you have anything that you'd like to bring to us on that?
Are you talking to me, Chairman?
Yes, sir.
My question is, would it be possible to form some sort of process or appropriate protocol? So if the tennis people decided they wanted to have a cookie sale, or had a rich uncle who was going to donate a water cooler or whatever it is, a park bench, new lighting, anything, signage, something that I think there's a question of, one, being able to accept it as a project and at a reasonable cost that the city would then have to pay for the contracting, which is different than the private world, obviously. And then have some means for approving it, whether it's done at our commission level or the city council level or city manager level, or I'm not sure. So I think there needs to be some sort of specified process that comes out of the department to inform us, and knowing that the city can take donations is great, but I think it's a little more complicated than that. How do we do it?
So if I could just comment, so it seems that the goal is you want to be able to take private donations because the person donating then receives the tax consequence. And so as a nonprofit, we're able to allow, to give them the form that they in essence can do that. So I think, I don't know if that covers what the goal is of the commission, or what is you're trying to achieve. Maybe if I could help understand that better.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Reddy. I apologize. I'll just jump back in and just say that there's a void. There's no means to do this. It's not so much that it's tax deductible or not, although it will help that it can be tax deductible. It's more just a question of if a group wanted to get together or an individual wanted to donate for a specific project or thing in a park, we don't have a means to do that now, to allow for that.
Yeah.
We don't know how to properly do it.
Yeah, but I think, well, I guess maybe we do, and we're just not, I mean, and Cynthia, help me out here. If someone wants to donate something, we certainly can accept it. There's nothing preventing it. Is it just we need a more formalized process?
So I guess what he's asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Cohen, if a group gets together and they donate one of those $5,000 drinking fountains for a park because they want an upgrade, they want to be able to secure that the city is going to install it.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
Whatever cost it is, or if we have to contract out for it, that will take care of that expense.
And it's one step before that. I apologize, Director Alvarado. I think there ought to be some sort of a process where either this commission or the city or even the city council, somehow it gets accepted first as an appropriate thing to be fundraised around, that the city will accept it as something to add as a park. So it's not just somebody comes and says, I've already raised the $10,000 for this, now you guys need to take it. They ought to be able to come and say, well, our idea is to raise money for this water fountain, and our price will be $3,000. Can you tell us what your price will be, since you have to bid it out? And once it's accepted, then they're green lighted to raise the money for it. But I don't think it should just be, I don't think there's a way now that we know of the process where we accept it as a project that doesn't force the city's hands, or wouldn't force the city's hands if we
Okay,
didn't want to.
so I understand. So I think this is what I would suggest, and I think this is an easy thing to achieve. Actually, Cynthia, we would just basically, this is an administrative policy we would write up. And I think what you're saying is the policy would be, if someone comes forward with a donation, we would just forward that to the commission, and you would make a recommendation whether to accept it or not. If it's something with a large cost, say over 25, I certainly would have to send that to council with your recommendation. If it's, most of these things are much smaller, our costs, we would just inform you whether we can just do it within the budget. But it would just come to the agenda, your agenda, and we'd get direction from you, and we just need to formalize that process. We could do it with the resolution at your next meeting. If that works for you. I think that's the simplest.
That works for you, Commissioner Cohen?
Absolutely, thank you. And I think Commissioner Crawford had a question.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Crawford. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to highlight that one of the points that Commissioner Cohen brought up as far as what the donation may be earmarked for, because we've seen instances in the past where like the tribe donated the vans, the youth buses to Parks and Recs, and then maybe the tribe thought that the money was, or the vans were earmarked for just James O. Jesse, or the community was under the impression that the vans were earmarked for just James O. Jesse, not for the entire Parks and Recs. So I'd just like to make sure that we clear that up, because that has come up as an issue in the past.
Yeah, and I think maybe the best way to institutionalize and assure that is in the resolution is when we receive those donations, the actual money in, the finance director actually puts it in an actual line item with that name of specifically what it's for. So it'd be like the vans for X in the park, it'd be in the Parks Department, the specific name.
So when the donation takes place, we have to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted correctly with the paperwork at that point, correct?
Yeah, so I think what the resolution that we can bring to you on the policy would just outline that. And then it would be earmarked into a specific account with a line item for the exact name, so it's not commingled. So that way you know exactly what it was spent on.
Okay.
You can track
So
it.
we will have a resolution put together to present to our group for our next meeting, and then.
And the resolution would just outline the policy. So you know, it's basically what we discussed, but you certainly can add or subtract to it once you see it.
Director Alvarado and the rest of us, and our other commissioner or vice chair will get together on that, and hopefully we'll have something to bring back for discussion and see if we can fine tune on that for our next meeting. Commissioner Cohen, does that pretty much cover what you brought up?
Yes, thank you. It's terrific. We've been talking about this for a better part of a year since our retreat, and now it looks like we'll have a means to actually do it. So I think it's great.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, since I have been on this commission, I have never seen anyone that always knows what is going on where there's grants or programs or new and exciting things. And our number 5 is a discussion of our National Fitness Campaign grant project that really impressed me with what Director Alvarado wants to present to us tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Director Alvarado to give you some information on this next item.
All right, I'm trying to figure out how to work my share, my Zoom, and my PowerPoint all at once. Okay. So a few weeks ago, one of my staff came to me and said, CPRS is giving away $25,000 to be a part of the National Fitness Campaign. And about a year ago, I was approached by the National Fitness Campaign, and it looked like a great idea, but unfortunately funding was just, they weren't offering any kind of grant to really offset the project. So with CPRS partnering with this particular organization, it's really big for the Parks and Recreation community, because it says we're really behind this, supporting the product. And so if you don't know what CPRS is, it is our state, California Parks and Recreation Society for us Parks and Rec people, and they know all the trends, and they have all of this information for the so we went out to La Quinta because they actually have one of these exercise fitness campaign sites. And so I'm going to show you those pictures, and then I'll take you through the information for the grant itself. So the front area with the orange color is what the front portion of the what it would look like. And there's a couple different designs that you get to pick, but I think this is like the generic, just color scheme of it all. Then one of the things we were concerned about was it's so hot out here, and we want to make sure that whatever amenities we do put out there, that it's going to be safe for our community to use and that it's going to last. So La Quinta put up a big shade structure to keep it protected, which is really, really neat. So let me see if I can switch. Hold on, I think I got to stop sharing. Let me go to the next page. And I'm sorry if I make anybody dizzy. Okay, I'm sharing the second page. So this particular organization has basically taken a bunch of equipment that is placed outside, and it's bolted, can't move move it. You can't relocate it anywhere. There is an application for your phone that it hooks up to, and it tells you where all other areas are in different cities that have this type of fitness area. And it shares different types of core movements and exercises that are available with the amenities that are out there. If you don't have a phone, they are placed as pictures up on the foundation of this equipment. And it's pretty simple to use. Obviously, whatever your ability is you can tailor to that in the different exercise areas that are available. As you can see, there's some dots that look like they would belong to dice, but actually you would do an exercise with that, and it would be, you would just move your feet according to the dots. So you would start out with the 2 and then bring your feet in and then go back out. And you could do that a couple different sets. And so it's a really neat concept. Let me switch out my page so I can show you some more of this. All right, so here's more looks at the equipment. So as you can see, it gives you guidance on how to use the different pieces of equipment. So you can do anything from ring dips, ring rows instead of push-ups if you can't get down. Obviously, if you're using, like a wheelchair and whatnot, some of these things can be adapted so that you can move, work on your upper mobility. You can do regular dips on some of this equipment that isn't moving like the rings. You could do different level types of push-ups. You could do stretches. I mean, the list really goes on depending on what your particular ability is. And let me stop sharing that. So here you'll see there's different, and so in the CrossFit community, you would call these like the plyo boxes, where you could either work up on step ups, you could do jumps, you could do jump overs. Again, you could tailor, push-ups if you have bad shoulders. For me, I would use the higher boxes. Swimming has damaged my shoulder, so obviously I need a little bit of tailoring for my things. But then you see the lower steps. So if somebody wanted to do like some form of a step class type of exercise, that is available for them too. Towards the far right corner, you'll see the equipment that you could use for doing, sit-ups or working on legs. Oops, sorry, let me go to the next screen. That was it. Okay, so basically this grant through CPRS is for $25,000. Pull up my information for the rest of this. So the benefit of this type of a setup at a park, obviously, we know we have the wellness park and there's the different stations that we have equipment for, but not everybody's into that, right? We met 2 guys out at the Lwcf Park, and we asked them what they thought about this particular setup, and they were actually really excited. They were younger than me, but they were excited about it because they had said, well, when I go to the gym and I try some of these different exercise equipment, it hurts my body. This allows me to work within what I'm capable of doing and not having to do too much adjustment. And it's more of my body weight versus me trying to pick up these heavy weights at the gym or, doing things that may not necessarily be beneficial for them. So it gave them the comfort of knowing that what they were working on was within their own personal realm of capacity. Let's see. This type of workout station or area was created back in 1979, and obviously it's progressed. So if you've seen stationary equipment like that, but more wood style, I think in the beaches it was more popular back then. It's really evolved. So it's really neat to see. Let's see. The goal of this type of an area is to encourage individuals exercising, but for us through Parks and Recreation, it would really give us the opportunity to host exercise classes together with the community. And then from there, we could put together challenges to say, all right, this is what we're gonna work on together. And we could slowly monitor those things. I know there's been a lot of talk with specific parts of our community trying to target obesity and just making sure that, you know, we increase our exercise time. And so this would really help us meet this without only going to the wellness park or having some kind of exercise station available. So the 2 park locations that we had recommended, just because of the type of activity or the request from the community, was the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Park and the Demuth Park, because of the activity. So the company came out and did a study to kind of see where all the hot traffic was happening. And those 2 areas had a lot of traffic going through them throughout the day. So they were actually really excited that the 2 locations we originally thought about were spot on. There were 2 other locations that had a lot of traffic, and one of them was Ruth Hardy and Sunrise Park. My concern there is our community really loves their green space, and that could be really problematic for us. So in regards to where these would be placed, at James O. Jesse, it would be more towards the back between the 2 playground areas, so that family members could work out while their kids played. And we wouldn't have to get rid of any big grass areas. The size of this particular fitness area is 38 feet by 38 feet. So it's not very big, but there's so much activity that you can do there, which makes it an awesome opportunity. And then for Demuth, there's the area over by the pickleball courts that has park benches. We're getting a lot of negative activity there. And in order to really kind of just combat that, that would be an excellent spot to put this exercise area and kind of spread maybe the park benches around a little bit better, so that we could get rid of some of our negative activity there. The plus to that particular location is there's already a concrete slab in place. And so it would save us about $25,000 for the overall cost of this particular project. With anything that we do, obviously there's always some form of a dollar cost. So the fitness court and the, Healthy Infrastructure and Campaign Services, which covers the mobile app, fitness season for the 2021 year and giving you access to everything that is available, promotions, marketing, ambassador training, and a launch day kit would cost us, and this includes the freight of all of the equipment that would need to be shipped, it would cost about $128,000. So if we got the grant, then it'd be $103,000. The only other thing we would have to look forward to possibly expensing would be if the concrete slab at DCC at Demuth isn't right, then we would have to pay to have concrete slab laid down, as well as having a concrete slab laid down at James O. Jesse. And then obviously the installation if our team wasn't able to do it. So you're looking at the overall cost of this entire project being about $200,000. So that's my presentation for this awesome equipment thing.
Did that also include the sunshade structure?
No, the shade structure would be additional costs. And I don't have a price point for that, but if it's anything like the shade structure that the amphitheater at James O. Jesse would require, we're probably looking at $50,000 to $70,000 for the shade structure, which obviously if we decide to move forward with this project, we will need to have that.
Questions for Director Commissioner Lamar?
Well, you know, I think it's a great idea, but I think of the two, Demuth, there still has the odor problem. And you're talking about moving this over by the pickleball area, and that's where the smell is the worst, and that's where all the complaints are coming from. So I would not recommend going to DeMuth Park. I've been there on a Saturday afternoon to have with people who were having parties and picnics, and they had to leave because it was offensive. And so without fixing the cogent smell, I would not recommend it going to DeMuth.
Okay.
Very good point. Because has that been corrected? Anything more that we need to go into later, or was that? I know there was a problem that was addressed last meeting, but is it still an ongoing? Were you there recently, Commissioner Lamar?
I haven't been there in a while, but I see David nodding his head yes, because he's a pickleball person. So I think it is still a problem. I mean, I know there was an equipment failure and they had to change the digester. We still have the issue of the sludge is laid out on the ground, but in a different area to dry out before they cart it away. And so the smell is, if the wind is right, the smell is still there.
I understand that. I look at the Sunrise would be a good place for it because your facilities of people coming in to eat from your group are close there. Commissioner Cohen, you had your hand up.
I was just going to say, to add to Commissioner Lamore's, the problem is not as bad as it had been smell-wise. I don't think they're ever going to get rid of it completely because that's the nature of a wastewater treatment plant. And it was seriously bad to the point where it was impeding people doing things. I personally would not say it would be a reason not to do it at DeMuth. People are playing pickleball there, and while there are some days it's not as pleasant as others, it still is fine. And I agree that the unwanted activity, especially after the sun goes down, when pickleball players come out and it's after sundown when the lights are on, does seem to be more of a problem. So if that's something that could address that, I would like to say that is a good idea.
Thank you. Other input or questions? Commissioner Crawford.
Just a question for Cynthia. Did she say that we were trying to do 2 locations, or was it just 1 location?
In a dream world, I would love to do 2. For me, if we had to pick one, my priority would be James O'Jesse, just because right now with everything being closed and who knows when it's going to open, and just, you know, obviously not being able to serve the community on the weekends. I've ran into several people at the park saying, give me some pull-up bars, or, you know, give me something simple so I can be out here exercising. And that, you know, the community gets a lot of traffic, and I think that would be a really great place to start.
Yeah, definitely agree. Just especially with the gyms being closed with COVID-19, so that's kind of the new normal.
Yeah, I think Miss Ann and the James O'Jesse team over there would be able to really do some creative programming for all ages, and maybe even families, you know, exercising together. I think it'd be really huge for the programming.
If we got the equipment in and put it in DeMuth and realized that the smell, how big a deal would it be to move it to another park?
It'd probably be a really big deal.
Was any other comments on? I think it's a great idea. I'd like to see some more information, or you didn't ask for a action item, direction.
Did I not? That's terrible. How do you feel about me pursuing the grant opportunity? Do you want me to move forward and apply for the $25,000? And if we get it, then obviously this company will help with trying to secure additional dollars so that we can get this project done. Or maybe this is a great opportunity, Commissioner Cohen, for you to lead a venture with securing dollars for a particular project. I know that the Desert Highland community has a lot of great connections with healthcare organizations that might be very interested in providing some dollars for this. So I think we could feasibly reach this financial goal together to make this happen for our community. And depending on, you know, how successful it is, it might be a great start to seeing more of these at our parks.
We have a motion to direct her to look into the grant. Commissioner Cohen, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to let Director Alvarado look into this grant. Do you need more than that, Director?
Just need a motion. You want to look into the grant and securing funds. Is that correct, Director?
Can we add maybe submitting the first step of the formal application for it?
And submitting the first step of formal application for it. I will put that as part of my motion.
Very good motion. Do we have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Commissioner Lamar, do we have any questions or discussions on the motion on the floor? Commissioner Goodman.
Thank you. I'm just kind of curious if our city, I guess Parks and Recs Department or the city, has actually ever surveyed our community to find out exactly what we would like in our parks. So where I think it's beautiful, I think it's a very nice addition. How do we know, one, it'll be used and if anybody really wants it? And so I was just kind of curious if anybody had information on what the process is to maybe survey or do a poll or do a beta test to see if it's something that people would actually use.
So we haven't formally done a survey to secure this type of data. However, with the James O. Jesse Desert Highland community, there has been lots of conversation just while visiting parks requesting this type of equipment so that they can work out outside, just because gyms are closed or maybe they don't want to go to gyms outside of what they have at James O. Jesse because of pricing. But this is also a trend kind of across the nation. You'll find a lot more of these out in beach areas. I think this would be successful at James O. Jesse just because of the different requests that I am getting for the same type of equipment. And we've sat in meetings and Commissioner Crawford has asked for more exercise equipment at the different parks. So
Going on what people want, I'm going to ask Director Alvarado and Commissioner Crawford this question. We have a equipment room with a lot of exercise equipment at James O. Jesse. Every time I've been there, I've never seen it in use. Does it get much use up there?
yes, when it is open, it does have, you know, hours that there is high use for it. And then obviously there's hours when there isn't high use for it. And it's the same thing with Demuth Community Center, right? I have a full gym out there with different type of exercise equipment. And there's high times and low times there too, but both facilities were really highly used by the community.
Thank you. Other questions on the motion on the floor?
Who seconded?
Commissioner Lamarck? If there are no other questions on it, then we can
I
have
have a question. This is Travis. I have a
Go
question.
ahead, I'm sorry.
So a few years
Thank you.
ago, when we went through this idea of the fees for the parks and spent all this time studying the fees, one of the matters that came up was that there was concern that there was these private trainers using park space for training. So if we did this and started putting these out in the parks, how would we enforce that issue?
Well, the team, if we go with the location at Desert Highland Park, the team there knows the community well. And obviously anybody brand new doing any kind of training, you know, would be approach to discuss, what was happening. Currently, though, with the COVID situation that is going on, we aren't collecting fees for those instructors that are out at our parks right now. However, if that changes once we get out of the situation that we're in, we'll go back to, getting these contractors to pull permits to be at the park or contracts to be instructors. But I think with the staff being out there and leading these classes and being close to the community the way they are, I don't foresee that being an issue at Desert Highland Park.
Okay.
That answer your question, Commissioner?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other questions to go along with this motion? Our present motion that we're going to be voting on is to direct our director to pursue the grant and the initial application. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Unanimous. So you have approval to direction to go ahead and pursue the grant and initial application.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this point, we are ready for reports and updates from our ad hoc committee. I know there has been a lot of activity from our art and park subcommittee group. Charles, do you have anything to report?
We had a couple meetings with Shonda at the Art Commission, and the last thing they worked on that I'm aware of were all the utility boxes up by Desert Highlands. There was some question on what they should look like, but they've come to a resolution of that. And the other thing was they asked if it would be appropriate to do the Dia de la Muerte, Day of the Dead, I'll say it in English, function at Victoria Park. And we as a subcommittee said we thought it was fine. And so those are the two things that we did.
Very good. Yes, that looks like that could add something right now in this time of strangeness with Arts Council and that. And I've seen some of the work that the utility boxes, I've seen a couple pictures of samples of that, and it is looking interesting. There's been some good things come out of there. Johnny is not here this evening on the park naming, so I'm assuming we have nothing from that group.
Commissioner Cohen did some research and sent it forward to us, but we need to sit down and figure out a time to really have some conversation via Zoom on, what we like from that particular, the research that he did. I also have a few pieces to contribute to that. So I'll need to get with the committee to set a date on when we can look at all of this information and start formulating, our recommendations to the commission so we can begin to move this forward.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Goodman, do you have anything on our pickleball update committee?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lamort, do you have anything on the restrooms update besides what was already covered?
Nothing more than we talked about, no.
Okay. Major J has nothing to add, so, and Travis and Ellen on the dog park. Do we have anything on that one?
No update.
Okay. At this point, we're ready for our reports and requests from our commissioners. This portion of the meeting is set aside for a brief general comment, issues concerning from our members, and items for our future agenda. So let me just start down at the bottom here of my screen, and we'll start with Commissioner Cohen. Do you have any comments or commissioner comments this evening?
I do not.
Okay, Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Goodman.
No comments.
Commissioner Martinez.
Nope.
Commissioner Alcorn.
No comments for me tonight.
Commissioner Lamort.
I'll be quick. Just say kudos to the director, number one, for the fabulous things that she's done for Halloween. And also Waldo was at the last commissioner or the city council meeting. I thought it was fabulous. Bring a little lightness to that venue. So thank you very much, Director. And that's all.
Okay. The only thing I have, I want to express everyone, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Armstrong, it's hard to find you down there. Got a picture.
Yeah, just one thing. I would suggest that we put a sign up at the dog park with the dates of the reseeding, so people aren't surprised. And then on that, if last time there was reseeding, I think the park was closed on a Friday, something like that, and then nothing happened on that weekend, so we could be mindful of actually closing it when the work is actually starting.
Right.
We do put up signs. They tend to get removed. I'll put up some more.
Thank you.
I'll make sure that we post it on our social media page and on the city website, which I believe the schedule is already up for both Stacy and my department.
Does someone post from there on Nextdoor? Because it was on there the other day.
Yeah,
Before
Denise
asking.
takes care of that for us.
Denise, okay.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank our Director Alvarado for all the great things that she's bringing to us. And I think our meeting went so smooth tonight by having Dr. Reddy with us to be able to sidestep some of the what ifs that we have all the time. And I know he got called off to a phone call there, but I do want to thank him for taking time to sit in with us. Does anyone else have any? There he is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. If there are no other comments or suggestions, can I have a motion that we adjourn this meeting?
I'll put a motion to close.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Alcorn and a second from Commissioner Lamort. All in favor at this time? This meeting is adjourned. Our next regular meeting, November 23rd, 5:30 via Zoom. Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful meeting, and good night.
Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe.
We've got 7 minutes left. Thanks, everybody.